Everyone, welcome back. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about something, a concept called flow, or the flow state, and how that relates to meditation and mindfulness, and my views on whether or not they are similar enough to be called the same thing. Now, flow is a term that I believe was coined by a certain author that wrote the book Flow. Now, the name of the author is escaping me, but you can look it up, and it's actually quite a good book, right? Flow states are very, very amazing and very intriguing. Now, when we're talking about flow states, we're often talking about peak performers or people who already know a skill to a high degree, who are basically saying that they don't have to be super aware of what they're doing in every moment, that it's almost like happening automatically, and that they are operating with like a high level of expertise without having to really think about it or make conscious choices. Okay? And often people relate meditation to flow, and people say, oh, like my meditation is when I'm playing guitar, or my meditation is when I'm driving, or my meditation is when I'm creating art. And I would argue that we're talking about different things, right? I believe that people can find a flow state in these things, whether it's creating music on the fly, or you're playing a song that you've learned to a really high degree and you're really in it. You're barely even like there, but you're doing everything right. Or you're running and you are just kind of like going through the motions in a way that is like, it feels like flow, and there's hardly anything like it. And if you have experienced a flow state, they're very incredible and very pleasurable to be in. I think some of the most times that I've experienced flow is standing on a surfboard. I'm not a very good surfer. I've only done it a handful of times, like maybe like 6 or 7 times. I'm not necessarily near areas that surfing happens in, but when I have been able to catch a wave on a surfboard, there's no feeling like it, right? You're in the moment fully. And I would imagine that if you cultivate that skill to a high level, where you don't have to be thinking much about what you're doing, that's kind of what we're talking about with flow. If you are creating art and you're not like making a lot of decisions, it's just kind of happening, right? If we're playing music and it's just kind of happening, or if we're playing basketball and everything's falling into place. Usually this is because we have learnt that skill to a high level already. And we have trained our autopilot, our muscle memory, to kind of do things without us taking executive control. And so we can kind of step out of the driver's seat and let it all happen, right? And we can be in the moment with it. But why is this different from meditative practice and applying that to, say, music practice? I would say that it's different because when we are practicing a skill, you don't necessarily want to be in flow. Because if you're practicing something, it's probably something that you don't know to an expert level yet. Okay? So we are actually trying to improve upon that. And in my view, the way that we improve upon these things is through active engagement, by being conscious, by cultivating that self-awareness in the moment while we are repeating a phrase or what have you. And this is different because we are in the driver's seat. We're taking the wheel. Okay? This is why I think that they are two different things. You can use the meditative practices that we're learning, and that can lead to things like flow states in the future when we have a certain level of expertise in them. But I believe that they are separate things. And this is why when people say my art is my meditation or driving is my meditation, I think it comes from a lack of understanding of what meditative practices and mindful practices actually are. And what they're talking about is a flow state. The flow state is kind of doing things automatically, and with meditation and mindfulness, that is what we're trying not to do. we're doing things with an extreme level of self-awareness and on purpose, right? And the way that we get to the flow states is by training our subconscious routines and our habits to facilitate that operating at a high degree. So once again, if people say that, and this is in my view, people say that their meditation is in music or their meditation is in creating art or driving or what have you, I think that we're actually talking about flow states, and that everybody could actually benefit from a more meditative approach to learning, practicing, and even just doing that on its own. Meditation in a vacuum would probably benefit all of those other aspects as well. Okay, I'm going to leave that there, and I'll see you in the next video.